Hello, everyone, and welcome to Legacy Wise Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Balajadia, creator and founder. So, during this episode, actually, this is the first episode, and I wanted the first episode to start off with my story and my life of where I've been, where I'm going, and where I see myself moving in the direction with this podcast and why it started. But before we even get into that, I want to start by saying that we have to start from the beginning. And the beginning is me in Guam, where I was born and raised, right? I was born with everything not handed to me. I had to grow up like either working hard for it or having someone support me to get it. And I want to talk about those moments because those moments are the ones that actually help me become the man that I am today. And without the support and the people that invest into me, then I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. Hello everybody. Isaac Balajadia, born and raised in Guam, moved to the United States when I was 24. Growing up in Guam was very easy. It was very simple. It was a simple life. It wasn't hard. It wasn't drastic. It really wasn't like hard to navigate. It was just basically like you wake up in the morning, you're doing the same thing all over again, and everybody maybe got a new job or got a new like car. It was just a common thing, like a time lapse in Guam. So growing up there was fairly pretty easy. I come from a single parent household. My mom was a single parent that raised me and my brothers. We literally had to work for everything. Had to like we the growing up we our life like was about survival. We had to always constantly find work or find some sort of income to help out, contribute to the household because of my mom just being a single parent. And if I wanted to join sports or something, I had to basically like support my own habit kind of deal. But let's start when I was little. So I grew up in the village of Silahanya at my grandma's house. It was my mom, my brothers and sisters. We grew up there, and we were tight. We tight. We're like very close. Me and my siblings, my mom too. Like we were all close. Like we were close to our mom. And I was very young when we moved to Silahanya. Yeah, we moved from Barragata to Silahanya. I was very young, and living in Silahanya was pretty all right. Like it's a suburb area. Like so, we rode our bikes around town. We had friends around town. We rode the bus to school, or in elementary, we walked to school because it was just up the street. But that's where my mom grew up, and that's where she and her brothers and sisters, all 12 of them, was able to walk to school, ride the bus to school, and stuff like that. It was my childhood was very, I want to say, like, I had my struggles, but my mom was did a really good job of like protecting me from just basically life, like a hardship of life. Like she just tried her best to help us navigate the waters of where we were at. What I remember mostly of my childhood was that like I would like look up to my older brother Chris, and a lot of times he would like during middle school, when he was in middle school, when I was in elementary, him and his friends would come around the house, and I just want to hang out with him. And just I just looked up to him because he was like my male figure that I looked up to. And when he hit high school, I remember his group of friends were at the house at the time. They were cooking some food, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go training." And then in my head, I was like, what is training like? What does training mean? Like I was that kid that was like, what does training mean? Where are you guys going to train? Like, what does that mean? So they end up like after my house, they end up walking, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow them. So I end up following, like I just followed tailed behind them. They were training in what was that? Man, I forgot the village name. But it's in Silahanya. It was right across it was like literally like 15-minute walk from my house, and it was across the highway, not even a highway, it was a street. And then it goes into like this valley, right? And then there was a warehouse, and they had like mats and a boxing ring and training cage, and it was underground at the time. So I just remember that my brother and his group of friends they were walking there, and I followed behind him, wondering like what is this whole training thing about? And they were there, they were training, and I was crossing over the hill just watching what was going on until like one of the boys spotted me, and they're like, "Hey, Chris, ain't that your brother up there?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, that's my little brother." and he ended up saying, "Hey, coming down, come on down." So my older brother called me down. I came down, and then I was like, okay, okay, this is cool. Like, what's going on? You know, like, dang, I got caught. I'm gonna get in trouble now. You know, and it's not gonna be a good time. So then my brother was like, no, 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 like that's my younger brother. Like, hey, they're like, hey, does he want to try to train? And I was like, what is training? Like, they're like, you want to try to do jujitsu? And I was like, what is jujitsu? Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like kind of lost. Like, I don't know what the hell this is going on. At the time, I was only like, I think I was only like 10 years old. Yeah, I was only 10 years old, and I was like, I don't know what was going on. I just literally followed to watch it. I thought it was cool. And I was like, man, this is a cool freaking. This is pretty cool. So they invited me to train, and that's how I ended up training. Was me just being curious and following my older brother and looking at what he was doing, and it was the rest is history. Like the rest is just like we just grew up doing it, and we just stuck together and started growing doing it. I decided to get more adventurous and move off island and train more out here and do more tournaments out here. But jujitsu for me and my older brother really meant a lot to us because like at the time we didn't have power or water at my mom's house, and we would go to the gym just to shower and just to get like some AC or charge our phones or charge something. And then I remember just every night like we'll go from a gym that has power and water to a house that we're using a candle, you know. And that was like one of the darkest moments that like I thought that life was just like it sucked. But I know that like when I every time after school I'll be like looking forward to go train because for one I could go train and then I could take a nice shower right after, and you know don't have to worry about going to school stinky. And I appreciate that. That was one thing I appreciate, and I never really thought that that kind of support would actually help me be a better person to everybody else, you know. And that kind of like pay it forward thing is like I'm constantly paying forward. When I see people struggling, I don't like people struggling, and I tend to make other people, like my wife will say, I'll tend to make other people's problem my problem, which is like, you know, it's normal for me, but other people they look at it like, why are you making that your problem? That's not your problem. Like, you know, some people just need that helping hand because I had that helping hand when I was down in the dirt, when my mother was struggling, when we didn't have power or water. Like someone came to help me and gave me a place where I can shower, I can charge my phone, I can like do what I need to do. And as we got older, we got better and better in jujitsu. We entered more tournaments, did more tournaments in jujitsu. I actually got opportunities to travel off island, but also too, like, you know, my mom's being a single parent, and Louis Regis, my godfather, the owner of Figu Bonsai, he was the one that actually like he had a ticket to go to Philippines, but he knew how talented I was and how good I was, and an opportunity that it would be like it would be a good opportunity for me to go be exposed to some off island tournaments. He actually gave up his ticket and gave it to me. And that too, like I can never forget because that was like my first international tournament, and it was awesome. It was in the Philippines. And you know, like I said, it just goes, it doesn't go unnoticed. You know what I mean? Everything that people do for me, I'm very grateful for, and I'll never forget. And like I said, jujitsu has been a part of me. I've been in the military for almost like 10 years, and I've been doing jujitsu way longer than being in the military. So, like jujitsu growing up, and then I got into high school. High school was like pretty much fun. It was fun. I had a lot of friends with everybody. Got to do the whole school thing. Got to help out other people in the same situation. There was a kid that was in the same situation when I was in middle school that didn't have power or water, and I was able to pay it forward basically and help them out as well because like I said, I make people's problem my problem. And high school was a fun time. I was able to like have fun, train a lot, have a lot of friends. It was a fun time. And then I hit graduation June 2013, graduated from high school, and I was trying at the time to get into the military because my brother Chris joined the military and my older sister joined the military, so I was trying to follow in their footsteps. And I saw the kind of lifestyle that they were kind of given, you know, joining the military. I was like, man, they're making really good money, and I was like, you know what, I need to try getting in the military. So I tried in high school to take the ASVAB, the first time and failed. And I was like, dang, I'm not gonna get in the military. So I kind of just gave up on it. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna get in the military. So I ended up just going to college for about like almost 2 years. And then it hit me where um I was having Isaiah, my youngest son. He was born and he had no insurance. So I was like, dang, I kind of have to like do the test again. This time, mind you, I'm out of high school. I have a kid, no insurance. I don't have insurance. So I'm just like, man, I got to go get insurance. Took my test again. I end up passing. The recruiter calls me, says, hey, when do you want to ship out? And I was like, oh, I'll ship out next month. They're like, okay, done. Ship out, swear in, get into the military, ship out, come back home. Things are good. Things are going good. Training's going great. Train even more. Was in the Guam Army National Guard. So weekend warrior. And then I ended up like excelling in army, like doing all the things the army wants to do. They're like, oh, you want to go air assault school? I was like, okay, I'll go air assault school. Did all that. Soldier of the year, did all that. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of sat around by the time I hit 23 and I was like, I want to do more. I want more. I need more. I need to excel more. Like I figured I just kind of like in my mind, like in Guam, I was in a time lapse and I was like, I find myself getting out of that time lapse and questioning like, am I doing enough here in Guam? Or I kind of just want to move out and go to the States and experience it. And I was like, that was very scary at the time, like thinking like, I want to go to the United States of America. Like boy that lived in the island for 3 years that wants to just get up and move. And I was like, oh man, like that's some scary stuff. But one day I remember I was questioning myself and I was like, man, I want to do more. And then I end up like kept questioning, figuring it out, doing cost estimates of how much it'll cost to ship my car, get started in the States. I try to figure out where all my family's at. Like I can just go and like I reached out. I remember reaching out to my families that are out here, and a lot of them, they just told me that like, oh boy, we don't got room, or we're feeding so many mouths here, we can't afford another one. Like, so I was just like, I gotta find a way. I gotta find a way. And I remember one day, it was after work. I went to my mom's house and I sat outside. My mom came outside and she's like, boy, what's wrong? She already knew what's wrong because when I come there and I'm just sitting down, staring into the abyss to nothing. She was just like, boy, what's going on? And I was like, mom, I kind of want to move out of Guam. And my mom like sat with me and says, boy, you should do it. And she kind of explained to me like when she was younger that she traveled the United States and she left out here. She left Guam and it was the best experience that she had. And she took my older brother Janice, my older brother Paul, and my younger sister Janice. Like they were out in the United States and it was the best thing for them. And she said that if she had not come back home, she would have just stayed out there. Um, she said if we were all younger and she had the opportunity to take us all, she would have took us out there to the States because it's a better life. And she explained to me that like the lifestyle out there and the lifestyle in Guam, it's two different things. And the opportunities out there in the United States is a lot more than what Guam can offer. And I was like, I was like, mom, like, so what do you think I should do? She's like, you should figure it out and try to leave Guam and go experience that because you have a kid. How do you expect her quote was, how do you expect your kid to go view the world when you yourself hasn't viewed the world or something like that? I think it wasn't like that. No, what did she say? Well, how do you expect your kid to move out of Guam if you never experienced the world? That's what she said. And I was like, you know what, mom, you're right. So I went home and I pondered on it. I was still thinking of ways, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I could go down to the active duty recruiter's office, ask them what I can do. Ask them how can I get out of my contract with the Guam Guard and go active duty and I'll get out of Guam that way. So I went there the next day, went down to the recruiting office and I said, hey, I need to leave Guam. Like I want to leave Guam. I don't want to be in the Guam Guard anymore. And mind you, I still have like I have 5-6 years of my contract left. And they're like, hey, you got to go get a conditional release. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. And I was just like, oh, dang, bro, this is hard. And at the time, the Guam Guard retention was very low. So even being an infantryman, like the retention was so low in the battalion that they weren't letting anyone just leave, So I was like, dang, this is going to be a hard process, like it'd be a long process, and probably it's a maybe. I was like, you know what, forget it. You know what, I'm gonna go find some other way. So I remember I was put on orders, and I was working for Command Sergeant Major Charfus, and I remember like coming in every day, just working hard. And I remember one day he was sitting in his office. Mind you, this is like a month out before he retired. And he said, "Boy, come here." And I said, "Yes, Sergeant Major." He's like, do you just want to stay here in the Guam Guard, or like do you want to move off island?" I was like, "Honestly, Sergeant Major, I'm trying to move off island. I want to move off island." And he said, "Okay, hold on. I'm gonna make one call to my buddy, Mr. Sider, at the Warrior Training Center, and I'm gonna let you know tomorrow what he says." I was like, "Warrior Training Center, what's that?" He's like, "The WTC is a place in Georgia, Fort Benning, where all guard people they can get a job there." And I mean, let me talk to him. He's a director. Let me talk to him. I said, "Okay, Sergeant Major, we'll do." So he left, and then, or I left, and then next morning came in. "Hey, Sergeant Major, good morning." He's like, "Hey, Balajadia, come here. Let me talk to you." Well, I talked to Cider, and he said that he has a job for you, and he can get you a job there. I'll get you a job there. I said, "Okay, Sergeant Major, what do you need me to do?" He's like, "We need you to get your packet in, and we need to do your packet before October hits, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Okay, Sergeant Major, cool." So at the time he had a Leonin, it was Master Sergeant Leonin, and well, sorry, first class Leonin, and he was like, "Hey, Leonin, help out Balahaja was packing." And I even said, "Hey, about my brother, like my brother Chris too." And he was like, "Oh yeah. Okay, even Christopher, get Chris over here too, so he can they'll help you do your packet." So me and my brother were doing our packet, getting our paperwork squared away, getting it done, on the tour duty. And before we even hit send, right, we get notified that, hey, the Command Sergeant Major Ken Cruz and the BC wants to speak to me and Chris. And I was like, okay, dang, this is probably bad. Like they'll probably say no, right? So then the next morning we go into Command Sergeant Major Ken Cruz's office, and he said, "Hey, Sergeant Major Charfus told me what you guys are doing. Colonel Santos said that you and your brother, you guys can go to WTC, but we need you to go on the first Sec 4 mission first, and then after that, then we can sign your conditional release, and you guys can go to the WTC in Georgia." Right there, I was like, dang, I gotta give you guys another year. Holy cow. But I was like, okay, I did the math. I was like, okay, Command Sergeant Major Ken Cruz and Colonel Santos will still be our CSM and our BC by the time we get off this mission, the next on that rotation. So I was like, you know what? Okay, I looked at my brother. I said, "Hey, let's go just give it one more year." We gave it one more year. We did the mission. Mission was good. After the mission, like it was around April timeframe, redid my packet. My brother redid his packet too as well. Right when we submitted it, something came up with my brother, and he would end up like he backed out from it, and he just ended up staying, which was good for him because I guess on that time he was just figuring stuff out too as well. So that was an actual good thing for him. And then me, like I pushed forward. I was kind of scared. I was like, "Dang, bro, this guy kind of left me hanging." But it's an opportunity I need to take, and I waited a year. So what I did was I jumped on it. I got my orders to report on January of 2020. So, made a deal. I was supposed to be out there in 2018, but they're like, "Okay, hey, we'll just push it to 2019." I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Cool, that's cool." So 2019 came, the ending of mission of August. Then I got my orders to report to Georgia in like December, January timeframe. Shipped my car back to my house and then left to Georgia. Leaving to Georgia, man, was like the scariest like part. But at that point, this is why that podcast, like this episode's called Boy to Man. Boy to Man, is because from that turning point, I went from a boy to a man in figuring out a way to get from where I am in Guam to get to the States. And it took me a lot of loopholes. It took me a lot of trials. It took me a lot of networking, a lot of talking, but ultimately I did it. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm paving my way. I'm paving my way so that I can give my son more than what I had growing up, especially growing up just in Guam. So fast forward, I moved. I was at the airport, and I remember that looking at the news, there was on the screen on the TV at the airport in Guam that Kobe Bryant has passed away due to his helicopter crashing. Imagine what I'm thinking. I'm like, man, I will forever remember this moment because this is an iconic moment that like crazy stuff just happened, that Kobe Bryant's plane just went down and he passed away, and I'm getting on a plane going to the United States. So I'll forever remember that moment. So leave Guam, get to Georgia, like mind you, getting my rent a car, driving on the highway, don't even know what the hell I'm doing because like I said, I grew up in Guam and highways, we didn't have no highways in Guam. We have like roads that are like 35 miles per hour. So I'm over here blowing through freaking those lights that are flashing red. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, they're just broken, and I just fly through it. And one of my peers that I work with was like, hey bro, like you like treat that as like a stop sign. I was like, oh dang, my bad. Like I was kind of educated on that on the fly. So, like it was just a scary process in Georgia. I got there, I was very happy, very, very mixed emotions, like happy, sad, alone, because it was just me there in Georgia. But I end up like with my personality, I end up meeting some outstanding people. I have a lot of friends in Georgia now, like a lot of friends like around the United States. But yeah, I get to Georgia, I get to my first unit, just excelling in the army stuff, because that's who I am. I want to do my best. I want to give my best. I want to do good impressions. I want everything to just flow, and I want to show my worth here, which I did. And after that, like I got homesick. Like I think it was after like 3-4 months in Georgia, I got homesick, very homesick. And I was just like, man, I gotta go back home, man. I can't do this, I was like, just give it 1 year and I'm gonna go back home. And all I remember is calling my sister and calling my mom and being like, man, I wanna come back home. But my mom's like, boy, you don't want to come back home. Don't come back home anymore. Like you're out there, just stay out there. It's good for you. You're doing great. Like she just like kept telling me like it's okay, like it's okay. How you're feeling is normal. You'll get through it, and you're gonna be fine. And I was like, you know what? Okay, you know what? But then I looked at my sister's situation in Guam, where she has a degree. She's very smart, has degrees, super smart. And she moved back home from the States to Guam, and she was still trying to find a job. She worked at a school that didn't pay much. She worked at the car dealership, didn't pay much. Like she was just like literally trying to like make it in Guam, basically, but that didn't pay much and didn't do well. So I looked at her situation. I was like, I should take this as a lesson and count my blessings because I'm already out here and not trying to find work. I already have work, and not go home because that can be me going home to struggle. So I end up like, you know what? I looked at her situation. I was like, I don't want to be in that situation. I'm not going to go back home. I'm just going to ride it out and stay out. And then a few months later, my sister applied for the reserve AGR position. She got it. She was moving to Arkansas. She called me with the news. She said, hey, we're packing up. We're going to Arkansas. I'm bringing mom with me. Like the whole 9 yards. I was like, hell yeah. So me being pumped, I was very pumped. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like I can do this. Like my mom's going to be out here. My sister's coming. Like I'm not gonna be alone. I'm gonna be good, and like I said, I'm here in Georgia by myself, and this and that. And then it was good. My mom came. She came visit them in Arkansas. Always visit them. Always checked in with my mom, see how she was doing. All this and that. It was awesome. It was great. I was gearing up to go to Ranger School. Passed the Ranger training assessment, was in the hole to go Ranger School, and then the worst turn. Like I didn't know that in 2021 that was going to be my last time that my mom ever sang happy birthday to me. Wild. Yes, my life has changed. So in 2020, like it was just COVID, we were just locked down, we couldn't do nothing. So here I am trying to be like, I'm an island boy, trying to go travel, trying to go see the United States and see what it has to offer and all these things. And now I couldn't go and travel anymore or do any of that because why? We're locked down, can't go anywhere. There's a rule in effect, this and that, blah blah blah. And yeah, 2020, I just like stayed at home and did nothing and just chilled the majority of the time. But still getting paid, of course. Saying, hey, I'll see you again after Ranger School, and then I'll be over, and I'll see you, or you can come see me after Ranger School. And she's like, boy, okay, I'll see you. And I didn't know it was the last time I was gonna see my mom. So I go home, and then gearing up for Ranger School. I was in the barracks at the time, waiting for that Sunday to hit to go basically to 4th RTB. And I ended up getting a call where my sister called me. It was like midnight. But mind you, I talked to my mom 3 hours prior. And she's like, boy, I'm just going to go sleep. I'm tired. I don't know. My body's not feeling good. I'm just going to go rest. I was like, okay, cool. That sounds good, mom. And all I remember at midnight was my mom or my sister calling me saying that like, hey, mom's not breathing. And I'm like, what do you mean she's not breathing? And then she's like, she's not breathing. My sister's crying. I'm like, what's going on? And all she flipped the camera, and all I see is my mom laying on the ground, and my brother-in-law Christian doing CPR. And I was like, no, that's not. No, she's gonna wake up. She's gonna wake up. She's gonna breathe. She's gonna start breathing again. Christian, get her to breathe. And that's all my sister kept saying is, Christian, get her to breathe, right? And lady was gone, and it was like a very dark moment where me and my brothers and sister, we just like shut down. We didn't know how to think. It was a dark time for me too as well, and I was like, what is going on? So we end up going back to Guam for the funeral. We bring my mom back home, bury her in Guam. And there I was like, you know what, man, I think I should just come home. I don't want to stay in the United States anymore. I just need to come home. I want to be close to my mom where she's buried. And so I was like, okay, I'll go back to Georgia, pack up my house, and go back to Guam. I ended up going back to Georgia, and I was like, you know what? Something in me told me don't go back to Guam. Something in me told me like, hey, how about you just go to California? I was like, okay, you know what? I'll pack up. I'll pack up. I'll go to California, and then if I feel that I need to go back home to Guam, then I'll go from California to Guam. So I ended up going to California, working at 29 Palms, California. And I was so miserable there. If anybody ever been to 29 Palms, California, like it is like nothing there. Like I swear that no one even wants to stay there. It was just it was the middle of nowhere. It was near the Joshua Tree National Park, and it was just no one wanted to stay there, or you just get visitors passing by. So then I get a call from my CSM, and he said, hey, Balajadia, do you want to go to Indiana? And I was like, Indiana? What the hell's in Indiana? He's like, well, we got a job for you if you want to take it. I said, yeah, I'll take it. And he was like, okay, hold on. Then they called me up again. They're like, hey, when can you get to Indiana? I was like, oh, I'll get to Indiana in 2 weeks. They're like, okay, cool. So I pack up my bag. Mind you, I packed my bags up again, and I moved halfway across to the United States again. And I moved to Indiana. And in Indiana, like, it was amazing. Like, I just thought cornfields and nothing. But I was more in the city, so it was okay. It was fun. And I met a lot of great people. I was able to travel around the Midwest. It was a good experience. I had to get out of that depression states where being around good people. All my friends from Georgia actually moved up, and I was able to reunite with good people again. And it was a good time for me. And then I just remember I posted a TikTok video because I was very, very hot on TikTok. Very hot on TikTok. And I just remember posting a video, and then seeing comments hitting up, how they blow up. And then I see this one girl, her name's Alexis Tafoya. I was like, okay, cool. She liked it, I was like, all right, cool. So then I hit her up in Instagram, and I started following her. And then from there, the rest is history. And she can tell you that story when she comes on this podcast and tells you the story. Yeah, and then we started talking. It was a long distance relationship. She was staying in Denver at the time. I was staying in Indiana. We kind of didn't know what we were doing. We were just like kind of going with the flow, and we just started just doing life and just building a life together. So, and then after Indiana, I was supposed to go to Georgia, but then that didn't happen. So what happens? I'm here in Denver, beautiful Denver, Colorado, living in Colorado now. And yeah, so the rest is history. Let me see my sound manager. Is this still playing? Okay, cool. And then I was like, you know what? If we can connect with people. And that's one thing about me is like I like talking to people and knowing people's background of who they are and what they have to offer. And I was like, what, if I can connect with people, like what kind of legacy am I leaving here in this world? And I was like, what, I want a podcast that everyone's like daily life and daily struggles. There's a lot of solutions to daily struggles, and a lot of people have the answer to it. So why don't I just start a podcast and other people listen, and we can get real life hands-on experience here in the podcast, and we can actually build something. So this is why I started Legacy Y. And I hope like everyone that has issues tunes in and maybe can find something like of a solution. But yeah. Thank you guys for riding with me on this first episode, man. This was kind of a hard episode to do. Especially about myself. And this is just the beginning. Every week, we'll dig deeper into stories that inspires, changes, and connects us all. If this episode spoke to you, do me a favor, okay? Subscribe to Legacy Y Podcast, share with someone that needs to hear this, and follow me on Instagram at Legacy Y Podcast. All right. Also have a YouTube channel out there. So it's Legacy_Y_podcast if you guys want to go on YouTube as well. Like, again, remember, legacies aren't built in silence. They're built living with purpose. And by passing purpose on, that's how we're going to live this life. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.